Alrighty then. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Matthew Baker of Beautiful New York Tours. When you arrive in New York City, you need some place to stay. Some people are lucky enough to have friends with large apartments and can crash on their couches or in a guest room if they really have a lot of money. Some people will spring for a hotel. Now, when it comes to springing for a hotel, you have a lot of options in New York City. If you have a lot of money and are ready for a splurge, certainly there are legendary luxury hotels like the Plaza and the Waldorf. If you don't have a lot of money and you figure, oh, well, I'm not going to be spending any time in my room anyway, I just need a place to sleep, I'm going to be out doing the city the rest of the time, you have hostel living like at the West Side YMCA. And there's lots and lots of in-between. But a colleague of mine asked me to do a piece about the Jane Hotel. And I looked into it and I realized that's actually a perfect topic because the Jane Hotel does fall in the middle of the two extremes of lodging we talked about, both in terms of price and in terms of amenity. It's on Jane Street, way to the west in Greenwich Village, back when that neighborhood was the old meatpacking district, was when the building was built. In those days, the whole neighborhood was covered in over 250 slaughterhouses, packing plants, and canneries. Imagine the smell, or better yet, don't. Now, originally, the building had been built as a rest home for sailors. It was the American Seamen's Friends Society. And it was designed by an architectural firm with a very unfortunate name. The architects were named Boring and Tilton. You cannot make this up. But their buildings are anything but. They're quite sturdy and they're quite lovely to look at. Now, the hotel was for a long time long-term housing for the down and out, and it did not become a fancy boutique hotel until recent years when it was sort of brought back by developers to its former glory from the days of its opening. Now, if you spend $125 a night, you can get lodging at this charming hotel that has a rooftop bar with a terrace with views over the Hudson River. You might think, what's the catch? Well, there is one. The rooms are minuscule. They are actually designed to resemble staterooms or cabins on a ship. Some of them actually feature bunk beds. But again, you're not going to be spending a lot of time in your room. You just need a place to sleep. You know, you want to spend your time walking around the neighborhood of Greenwich Village, where the Jane Hotel is located. It is a 5-minute walk from the Whitney Museum of Art and from the High Line. It is right there in the midst of the winding streets of the West Village. It is around the corner from one of my favorite cafes, the Tea and Sympathy British Tea Shop. It's got so much to do. You're not going to spend any time in your room anyway. The bathrooms are also communal, just like in a college dorm. You can get a larger room with its own bathroom, but of course that costs significantly more. So bear that in mind. But it is a very historic place. In 1912, the survivors from the Titanic were lodged in the Jane Hotel while the hearings and investigations into the responsibilities for the Titanic disaster took place. So you really get to take in that history when you are enjoying the lobbies and the bars and the views from the Jane, and I highly recommend it. It is certainly not the only hotel of its kind in New York City, but it is a very, very good example of what it is. So once it is safe to travel to New York City and enjoy walks through the windy streets of Greenwich Village and drinks on the terrace at the Jane and jaunts over to the Whitney, I highly recommend it. Please check me out at Beautiful New York Tours. You can search Beautiful New York Tours on Facebook or email me at baker.tours@yahoo.com. Again, that is baker.tours@yahoo.com. Thank you very much.